This presentation, titled Auditing the Manufacturing Floor Remotely, comes to us from Shauna Wilson. Having worked in quality for more than 30 years, Shauna holds the Exemplar's Principal QMS Auditor certification. Her research into virtual team communication and development of virtual auditing methods, as well as her auditing experience, has made Shauna the leading expert in remote auditing. She earned a master's degree in engineering focused on organizational performance technologies and instructional design. Shauna wrote interteaming.com, tools to create high-performance remote teams, and co-authored e-auditing fundamentals, virtual communication, and remote auditing. Shauna has been featured in Quality Progress, The Auditor Online, and ASTD's InfoLine. Shauna served as the U.S. expert for PC Tag 302 for the ISO 19011-2018 Auditing Management Systems Guideline. She is currently serving as ASQ Portland Section Chair. And with that, take it away, Shauna.
Well, thank you, Mike, and thank you for inviting me in to present today. And what we're looking at today is auditing the manufacturing floor. Wow, what a year it's been. What I want to do is cover these areas today in the short time that we have, but it's going to be packed with really great information for you. We're going to go over remote auditor preparedness. I'm going to recommend technology that's worked best for me and what I've experienced for best performance results. I'm going to help you with the setup preparations for auditing the remote manufacturing floor, how to use the floor diagrams, and then also how to handle the mobile device. We'll end with auditor capabilities and training needs. And after that, we will close and move on, I guess. So what I want to do is I want to talk about some definitions first before we get started. And I always like to do this because it sets everything to a core. One is an e-audit is essentially the same as an audit. It's systematic. It's a documented process for obtaining objective evidence and so that one can evaluate it objectively. The difference between an audit and an e-audit is an e-audit uses electronic means to remotely collect the evidence. That's the only difference. We should have a process, qualified auditors, all of that as well. The difference between a remote audit and virtual audit is the remote audit is a different location. It has a different location in place. With the virtual, it doesn't. It's a virtual location. So that's the main differences between those definitions. Now, when we think about remote audit preparations, what we experience is there's a lot more preparation time. One would say that in our site-to-site audits, boots on the ground, we should be doing this preparation anyway. But with the remote, it really forces one to prepare. First, let's talk about the auditor that's auditing that remote location. This auditor needs to be prepared to ensure that the audit objectives are met, that NDA confidentiality is maintained, especially when they're working from home now with the pandemic, and that professionalism is held. So it's up to the auditor to be able to maintain all of this during the audit while conducting the audit. At the remote site, the auditor needs to ensure the remote site is prepared as well, that they have the Wi-Fi strength necessary to carry voice and video, that they have the necessary technology so they can conduct the remote review or the visual review of the manufacturing floor, and the testing that must happen prior to the audit. And it needs to happen weeks, not the day of, before the audit, so that they can purchase any hardware that's needed to ensure that there's a good visual. Here's what not to do. In fact, this is the auditor my client had last week. The office is the living room with others at home. We could hear them talking. I'm pretty sure they could hear us talking because he wasn't wearing a headset. And so here we have at challenge here is NDA protected information. It's being heard by other people that are not under the signatured or the approved NDA. Casually dressed. I mean, this has brought us to a more casual dress by far, and this makes sense because of the remote location and the remoteness. Everything is casual. You can look at the news and all of that. Everybody's dressed down. So casually dressed. So there's a difference between casually dressed and professional casual. And we need to bring this back up. And the auditor bringing this back up to a level will set the tone for the audit. Like I said, the home background is not an office background. And here we have this screenshot behind us. Those should be used at the very minimum if you're not able to get a very good wallet or if you don't have a home office. Answering calls or texting during the audit. It should be not a no call. And then also, this auditor had constant computer issues because he downloaded the wrong download for the collaborative room and he could not get it to work the whole audit. So he was in and out, and it was the timing for the information to him was slow. It just was terrible. It was horrible. And then screenshots taken without permission. When we're on the site, we ask for the form or for the record. They know that we have it in our possession now. But when you're at remote and you're just taking screenshots, you need to really confirm that this is okay for you to have and not just take it at your will. So this is what not to do. Auditors in this new environment, they need to separate their office. They need to have a quarantine area so that nobody else can hear what's going on. They should be wearing a headset so that they can hear only what's going on. And it also helps with the sound when you have multiple people online in the same meeting. Dress professionally, that brings everybody up to this level. Silence your mobile device. In fact, take it away from your area so it doesn't distract you. Download the collaborative program weeks before this audit so that you and your remote site are ready. In fact, what you can do is you can test that remote site weeks before. Just sign up with them. It takes 10 minutes. And everybody signs in, they see how fast things are going, if it's going to work, what the Wi-Fi strengths are, all of that. So do that before. And the auditor, if you're new at this, which most of the auditors are right now, is you should be doing this. You should be meeting with your remote location and testing the equipment together. Here's my recommendation. Now, I'm not endorsing any companies. All I'm looking for is a clear view so I can read a calibration sticker. That is my test. Can I read a calibration sticker? So with network security, these are the products that rate the highest. GoToMeeting, Google Duo, and FaceTime. The equipment for mobile devices is the iPhone. The camera on that is far superior than any of the other mobile devices. You can read small print. So when somebody is touring an area with an iPhone, you can read the traveler, you can read the calibration sticker, you can read it all very clearly. So that's how you collect evidence, right? You wouldn't be able to carry out that remote audit if you cannot see clearly the documentation that's being shown to you. So that is so important. Now, one of the recent audits that I had, somebody was using one of the more recent Microsoft Surfaces Pros. I'm assuming it was the 7. It was very good too. I could read everything that they showed me with that Pro. So I'm adding that to my list of mobile devices that can be used. One of the things with the collaborative programs, and I've used GoToMeeting for a very long time, is not only is it the most secure out there, but also it allows you on the receiving end to enlarge the screen. So when they're sharing their desktop, the auditee is sharing the desktop, you can enlarge it, and then you can grab the screen and you can move it. So then you can see, because oftentimes they show a wider screen and it's small print, you can't read it. You can adjust this. It makes it so much better for you to be able to see all of the information that you need to see. It also presents a really ease of sharing between the presenters, because once the audit gets going, people are more at ease. They're sharing their information. You got multiple people in remote locations sharing. They can just grab the screen and take it. And it's more like in a room rather than having to give permission all the time. So it's ease of use is excellent. And also it provides pins to highlight work so people can better illustrate what they're talking about. So it's some of the benefits. And when you're selecting collaborative rooms, these are some of the things you might want to look for as being beneficial tools. I did conduct an audit with a location that would never allow this before. I always had to go to the location, and they have an issue with internet sharing and all of that type of thing. And so with FaceTime, we did a floor review with 5G because they didn't have Wi-Fi. So on an iPhone with 5G, I was able to do a floor visual review, which was really incredible. Now, when you prepare the remote site, you want to send them or ask them to send you a diagram, a layout of the area. We put this in the 1911 as a guideline to get prepared for these remote audits, is the floor diagram. You really need to have that. And you want them to articulate where are the rooms, where are the equipment, the material staging, non-conforming products, and you want them to test all the corners of those areas to identify where the Wi-Fi dead zones are. And write you can write how many bars you have or the strength level at these different areas and decide how you're going to mitigate that. Maybe they get a booster in those areas for the audit. So this is all that should be done prior to that audit, 2 weeks at least prior to that audit. Have them download the software and put it on their apps, or put the apps on their mobile devices too, and test this all out. Everyone should be wearing headsets, earbuds. The Apple earbuds works on PCs. I wear those all the time, and you can talk to them better. The noise canceling parts of the mobile device, the iPhone, cancels out a lot of the factory noise, so you can hear them talk. They can hear you talk. So this is very important to have all of this in. And then when you're working on, face or desktop share, have the headsets so that the video or the audio doesn't go wonky on you. So it's really important to have headsets in that kind of device. So here we are testing those laptops and the mobile devices for the strength is very important, 2 weeks before at least, so that you can recover any of the issues that you may discover. So here's the secret. This is the first time I've done this. I've sent this out. So auditing the manufacturing floor, how to capture a good visual of manufacturing practices. There are 3 views you must have to validate a manufacturing floor. And if we think about it, when we're on the boots, on the floor, there, walking into the room, I always look at the whole room. I do a panoramic view with my eyes, turning my head, and I look at the whole room. And then when I go in, I step through and I'm looking more at the process, bigger view still, until I get to a station, and then I'm looking directly at the station. This is the same thing that should happen in a virtual review. So you have the manufacturing floor, and with the floor diagram, you discuss with the people, where's the best place for you to stand so that you can do a good slow panoramic view with your device. Okay, and then you know where they are. They're doing the view. You can see what's there. You can match it to your diagram. All right, and then you can even number the areas where you want to go. You can articulate which way you want the tour to start. And so the person goes that direction. And so you can look at the process, you can see the input to the output. The thing about panoramic views and then walking forward with the mobile device is you have to stand with the panoramic view, because it will be blurry if you're walking and they're doing the panoramic view at the same time. You will not be able to capture everything. It will just move too fast for you. So standing with the panoramic, and then when walking forward this way with a mobile device, it's very clear. I mean, it's just like you walking down the hall. So just point out that you want to start at the beginning of a process and have them walk you down that process so that you can see everything around it. You can see if they've got non-conforming product on the floor. You can see if the tools are right. You can look and look at equipment for calibration. You can see all of this. You can look at the travelers, the work instructions, all of that. And especially when you get to the station, now you're standing there and it's a discussion. You've got the mobile device, you're standing there, you've got the operator there, it's close proximity. You can detach the earbuds and have a discussion with them. I've seen others that have speakers that you could speak into the speaker. That was pretty cool. And it plugged into the mobile device, and then you just pass the speaker around and the person could clearly hear and then talk into the speaker because it had a microphone. So that was for a really noisy area, but most of the time, this works a majority of the time with an Apple iPhone. It really does. Okay, so it's important to have all of these views and to see everything like this, to have a successful review on a manufacturing floor. All right, so here we have the floor diagram. And I'm just repeating myself here, but view the manufacturing floor, and then walking forward, view the process. The handler can start walking really fast. Ask them to slow down. Ask them to, that you want to see, just because you have to have that plan in place before, because all they want to do is go wherever you tell them. They don't know what to do with that device. They're there and say, what do you want me to do? Where do you want me to go? And so it's up to you to find that so that you can see what you need to, and that they don't just take off running, going and showing all this stuff. Okay, so use your diagram, plan that out where you want to go on the tour, and then set good guidelines as far as the walking and how fast to walk. And then at the workstation, staying stationary. This is when you're looking at the labels, you're looking at the traveler, you're interviewing the operators. All of this can take place right there with the mobile device. One of the issues that we have is a pandemic. And this happened with virtual teams 20 years ago. Corporations decided that they needed to reduce their overhead costs, and they sent everybody home to work. And they struggled. They struggled because they didn't know how to communicate in a virtual setting. It was difficult, but virtual teams have been around for over 20 years now. And many companies have virtual teams, and they're very successful. Virtual auditing, this has happened to a lot of the auditors. There was hesitancy in getting registrars and other auditors trained up to do this. And now all of a sudden they find themselves working from home, auditing remotely. One of the things that's happened to auditors is sitting in airports. You're not this virtual environment has really passed them up as they've sat in airports and traveled to these different places because it's invisible and it's just not present. So they've been in a more passive role, attending webinars or attending virtual meetings with the companies, those kinds of things. But leading an audit, like facilitating a meeting, is a whole new ballgame, and it requires a different skill set. You have to understand more things about the remote audit, right? So with the auditors, if you'd had experience working in a virtual team, and that's not just sitting passively listening in a team, but actually doing problem solving in a team, writing on a whiteboard and being able to solve problems, those kinds of things that virtual teams have been able to do now and do quite easily now. Understand how communication changes in the virtual setting, because it does. We hear now from more of the silent types and more of the, because this is their environment. It's just change. It just all changes on how people work. And some people are more comfortable with it than others. The technology really is a barrier for a lot of people because having to work through a collaborative program and then having to type, well, that's another thing, being able to type fast and then also carry on with the audit. That's like 3 or 4 different things that's going on at the same time that you have to really manage. And you have to practice. You just can't step into this one day and think it's going to be the same, because it's not. So this tool that I just gave you today will help you greatly on creating better visual reviews on the manufacturing floors, because I know that you're having to do that now. Auditor capabilities include learning all of the processes with regards to e-auditing, how communication changes, especially the learnings from virtual teams, but how to validate issues when nonverbal communication is available. I mean, that changes everything if you're not able to see it. This is the first time I've been on video in any webinars. It's always been non. So how to conduct the online meetings, right, with synchronous time. So all these different shifts, all these different time zones. Understanding the learning styles of the individuals. And it's important not only for the people working in teams, but you as an auditor and who you're auditing too, and how you can impact them, because everybody changes in this environment. As I alluded to earlier, dress code went down. That's because behavior modification is impacted here. And if there's not somebody right there, then people act differently. And just because you're on camera, it still goes down. So auditors have to do everything they can to keep the professionalism at a standard, at a core. Understanding the technology, being able to maneuver through all the different technologies now. It used to just be go to meeting, but now we have Skype, which is terrible, Zoom, and all these other programs. You have to get versed in all of them so that you'll be able to work in them, especially if the client is saying, we want to use our own, which they all want to use their own now because they're more comfortable in that and they don't want to change it. So there's your first clue that they're still dealing with their technology. They're not comfortable moving from one to another. Okay, you have to be able to give guidance on technology issues. If the auditee is having sound issues, you have to be able to help them with that. So that these are really key as far as bringing an auditor up to the level of being able to conduct an audit to get the sufficient evidence to be able to, report on compliance or conformity. The internal auditing we all have, because we've all been tested, we've all had to go through that 5-day class, we've all had to do that. And we've also had to go through all the classes for the standards. We've not had to do this with the virtual. So auditors need to get training. Here are some options for you. There's an online training with quality web-based training, very affordable. It's been there for years. There's an online book through ASQ that you can order for $10. Or you can do live training with me. And we will go over all these areas, how to prepare the remote location, how to use the floor diagrams, testing of the devices, and conducting the remote audit. But we also go into how everybody changes, the communication issues, and how to manage the behavior modification that will occur as well. Here are the references for this brief webinar today. And thank you so much.
And thank you, Shauna Wilson, for your perspective on remote auditing of the manufacturing sector. And that concludes this presentation.